Welcome to the Fit Family Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Casey Dark. No Anna Maria with us today, no AM, but I am here with my man Austin from Player One Productions and my special guest, Dr. Jim Osiwala. Did I get it right?
You got it right, Casey.
Osiwala. And good friend of mine, and he has his own fitness business. He's an actual doctor, and his program is Menopause Madness, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
wanted to jump on here and have him share his story and just chat a little bit with everybody about what he's got going on. So welcome, Dr. Jim. So tell us how you got started in the fitness industry and just the fitness space. I'm sure there's a story there.
Well, yeah, I guess, it goes back to, again, even my own, let's see. Well, I was in school becoming a doctor, got into fitness, and it was something that helped me decompress all the stress, all the stuff that I had going on. And it was just, I'd sit there and I'd study and I'm like, I got to go do something. Right. So my journey started there. And then as I was in school long enough, it was kind of like before the internet. I did a lot of research in the library, and it really just dove in headfirst into how nutrition works. And obviously I'm learning how the body works and getting into the physiology and how everything works. And it all came together, and it was like a match made in heaven. So I really enjoyed the training part of it, training other people.
Now, was that your initial discipline that you were going to medical school for? I know that, I imagine that anyone who's going to be a doctor, there comes a juncture where you go okay, am I going to be a pediatrician? Am I going to be an ophthalmologist? Or which direction you go? Where was that juncture for you?
Well, it goes back to in school. I had a few gals that I knew that wanted to get trained, and through a couple of the aspects of people that I knew, they were in pageants and they were being trained by these people. And I was like, what are they doing? They're you're spending all this time, you're doing this all wrong. So it just kind of happened. And it wasn't like that was going to be my specialty, because obviously, hormone regulation and a lot of other things that we do when we do in the metabolic testing is really what gets down to it. But the fitness comes along with it, right? So if we're not doing what we need to do, we're not going to get those results. And so I started working with a couple of these, I'll call them pageant gals, and they were getting results.
And these are like beauty pageants, right?
Yeah, like Miss Missouri,
America,
Miss USA. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, and they got better results following my aspects. And then, in school, I'm studying all how food has the effect on the body, right? Like food has a drug-like effect on the body. Mm-hmm. When you eat something else happens, right? A calorie is not just a calorie. And so I was actually having this is before low carb was really, a thing. Mm-hmm. This is over 25 years ago. And this one doctor comes up to me, and I was a clinician at the time in school. He's like, hey, you're eating this stuff. You're not supposed to be eating that. And he was eating the same thing I was eating, which is kind of funny. Mm. And I said, well, I'm really not eating the bread, so it's not that bad. And he looked at me funny, and I said, what? And I go, he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, what percentage of your body is water? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, oh, I stumped you, right? You're supposed to be teaching me.
Right.
He said at least 80%. I said, well, oil and water doesn't mix, right? He said, come to my office. So went to his office, told him everything I've been researching in the library. And they started a thing, and I became known as, it was called the Osiwala diet. And I had doctors coming to me. Yeah, I was still an intern, right? I was still a resident, if you will, and everybody was coming to me asking me about all this stuff and how to eat this and what's this and how does this work and what all this happens with insulin. And it was really kind of that kind of fueled everything. And then we just put it all together.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I want to dig more into like the specifics and the science and different foods, but
Sure.
typically everybody that I talk to who's a fitness and weight loss coach, there's some point in their life that they had their own fitness journey, their own point where they made their own personal changes, whether they had a weight loss transformation or they
Yeah.
had like some serious like accident that like I had. Was there anything like that for you that really like sparked your interest in
Well,
nutrition and
well,
weight
it's
loss?
interesting. Yeah. While in, you know, school, I was studying a lot and training enough, and I was in great shape. Out of school, stress, hit, um, time wise, got married.
Mm,
Babies are coming, and next thing you know, you're like, what the heck just happened? Right. I was in such better shape before, and it got to the point where you're just craving sugar and all these things. And I was just like, wait, my wife's like, what do you know better? I'm like, I do know better, but what the heck, right? So
mm,
it was just like that one night, it was just like, wow, wait a minute, this has got to stop, right? So I went back to obviously everything that I studied, and I was just like, yeah, that's this is how this works. We got to have to do this, do that, take care of this, and work within the metabolic cycle. And that's one
mm.
of the things I do with my patients as far as burning fat versus burning sugar. And so I was like, okay, and made that switch, and I was like, okay, that's it. I'm not going back. So, and continuing to move forward with that.
Nice. So now your program is called Menopause Madness. So tell me a little bit about that. Like what is it about menopause that someone needs to know, and how does that affect weight loss, or just just tell us
Okay.
about that program
Yeah.
specifically.
Uh, I have a lot of friends that are my age, male, female, and a lot of females that I know. They're saying, you've got to do something. You got to do something. I've seen you help all these other women, but now, I've got these problems, and I've got this, and I'm bloated, and I'm tired, and I got these night sweats, and I can't lose weight, and they're telling me all their problems, and I'm like, yeah, I got something for that. And they're like, so one of the gals, good friend of mine, she's like, you got to do something. There's a lot of professional women like me that are trying to handle and maintain a business in the professional world, in a man's world, as she put it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're got this brain fog and all this other stuff going on. And so, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, I mean, I know what to do. I've worked with all kinds of things like that and before. So as I went through that, I was like, okay, this is the things that we're going to do. We're going to get into why these women in pre, peri, and postmenopause are having these issues. And therefore, looking at, again, I said earlier, calorie is not a calorie. We have to look at what kind of foods they're putting in their body, right?
Right.
And how much food and how much not food and how much isn't really considered food, right?
Mm.
And mindless eating and all these other things. And we wonder why, when the blood sugar is off, why they're feeling so bad, why they're having the issues that they're having. So we address, I'll call it the root cause of all these different issues, and we watch the bodies respond with 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 ease, if you will. So
Right.
I don't.
So it's funny. I always joke with my wife and pretend like I don't know what menopause is, and I was like, "Are you going through that? What's it called? Menopause? Are you doing the menopause thing?" And she rolls her eyes. But what are the specific symptoms that are problematic, and how is a weight loss journey for a woman who's, say, 24 through 30 different from somebody who is actively going through menopause?
Well, with what I do, Casey, may be different than what somebody else might do because of my background.
Right.
And when I'm working with a patient client, and I'm helping their metabolic process,
Mm-hmm.
right? So everybody says my metabolism slows down. My metabolism slows down. Oh, after this age, and I've got a lady that started with me when she was 79,
Wow.
79-year-old women don't have a metabolism, right? So, and she didn't have a thyroid. So she had
Mm,
a lot of things going on. And when we came down to it, we got her to drop the weight, the 50 pounds that she wanted to lose.
that's
And
awesome.
she was absolutely amazed. And so when someone says to me, it's my hormones, it's this, it's that, there is something to that to an extent, but it's not what it's cracked up to be, right? A lot of times we're finding out that they're not eating enough, or they're eating too much, or they're eating too much of the wrong things, or they don't even realize they're snacking on, oh well, almonds are really great for me. Well, sure, but do you know how many calories are in those almonds and those
Mm,
cashews, and these nuts, right? So um we're I take an approach where we're looking at it differently with each person and saying, okay, what's actually happening on the metabolic cycle, right? Because toxicities, deficiencies, hormones, and how the organs and the liver and everything else are working is my forte, right? So I'm getting kind of real deep inside what's going on in the metabolic process.
right. And you do things that other fitness coaches don't necessarily do. I mean, you expect a fitness and weight loss coach to give you nutrition advice, right? To give you a meal plan. You expect that they're going to give you some kind of workouts to do, and you expect that there's some kind of one-on-one accountability, that they're regularly checking in on you and making sure that you're on top of those regular habits. But you being a doctor, you have some other processes that go beyond just that basic stuff, which makes you unique. And you know, like if I was gonna have a fitness coach, I would want somebody who was a doctor, right?
Right.
What are some of those things that go above and beyond what a typical coach would offer?
Well, there's a buzzword that's really that's becoming more popular, something that I've been doing for a really long time, 15 years or so, and longer, but functional medicine. But it's really foundational medicine, right? So we're looking at what's happening inside the body and why. So I run blood work, I run hormone panels, we run cancer panels, we run toxicity panels. So toxicities and deficiencies are a really big thing. One of the things that we see when people are saying, well, that's menopause and I've got these other issues, I got this brain fog. Well, the question is why, right? It's not that you can just exercise that away or drink enough water. That as an example, if somebody is low lithium, they're going to have a problem. But who's checking for lithium?
Right. Only
Right?
like your psychiatrist.
And
That,
I don't even think they are. Right. So when you're thinking
wow.
lithium, I'm talking elemental lithium.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking um, pharmaceutical lithium. Completely
Oh,
different
okay.
thing. Completely different things. So it has to do with your mood. There's a big correlation between dementia and Alzheimer's and lithium. That I could do a whole 3-hour information on that alone, right? So that's that's an example of a deficiency, right? So
Right.
if someone's trying to figure out why their mood is off and why they're doing that, and they're just saying it's hormones, could just be a deficiency, right? So if we're looking at that deficiency, we're going to be able to tell that. So specific blood work, hair analysis, urine analysis can give us a lot of information.
Do you have anybody that like that ever blows their mind that they think they're just like signing up to get a meal plan, and like maybe like they don't know how to work out, and then the next thing they know you're like, all right, I'm gonna need you to go get your blood drawn.
Yeah,
is that
yeah,
ever
there.
is that ever a shock for them?
Well, kind of. I get into it a little bit, and it all depends on what level they want to participate, right? So
Mm,
I might not draw everybody's blood. Somebody might not be, want to be a candidate for that or even get involved with that deep. But it's kind of like when you get a basis, when you hit 40 or 50. I know we're talking about menopause, but like women, breast cancer is a big thing,
mm,
right? Oh my gosh, breast cancer. More women die from heart attacks than they do breast cancer, right? And how come nobody's addressing that, right? Well,
right.
we're addressing it, and I talked to a couple female cardiologists that do address it, right? So looking at the proper panels, Cleveland Clinic does a panel that we run on patients for that. So it's not a cookie cutter aspect. Yeah, we want to eat clean, right? Like if it's autoimmune, we know what we're going to do. If you're non-autoimmune thyroid, then we know what we're going to do, right? So there's a lot of different nuances that have to happen when you're dealing with a human body, right? That's like saying everybody got the same exact diet. Not really. No.
Yeah, what works for one person's not going to work for everybody.
Right.
Well, and I mean, I find that a lot of people, I mean, there's some folks that I work with, and we'll start with some kind of meal plan, some kind of structure, and to find out that it's just not going to be something that's sustainable, and it's just not going to be like that. I have 4 kids, I work full time, my husband works full time. I'm not going to be able to cook all these meals. I'm sure they're amazing, and they're just honest. It's not going to work. And it's like, okay, then we have to figure out some kind of sustainable way to get the nutrition in your body that you're going to need, that's optimal, while being in enough of a calorie deficit to lose weight and have enough energy to exercise and do all that, right?
Right.
So I imagine that's a tough conversation, but one of the things that you said that I just kind of blows my mind is you're right. Like, women have regular checkups for, breast exams, but if most of the deaths are from heart disease, a lot of people don't just go to the doctor for a heart checkup, and that happens sometimes, but it happens too late. Like when you're sick, when there's already a problem, and then you're going to the doctor and be like, I don't know, I got this weird, palpitation in my chest. What's going on? Oh, you have high blood pressure. Oh, you're at risk for heart disease. So I think that's powerful. Like, why isn't anyone talking about this?
It again, even like breast cancer, right? There's a simple blood test that was approved that's going to find blood cancer in the blood before it shows up on a mammogram. It's not a big test. It's not expensive. Why not do it?
Right.
We do it. So I usually I usually do a special in October for that, for the women that want to do something there. We do a screening and an awareness and a consultation.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
And so with that, we're giving away these tests, to do that. It's that's how I'm going to give back to breast cancer, right? Because I want the money. I know where the money's going, right? Let's actually find out where you're at. As far as, like I said, screening for the heart, it's the regular. I had this conversation with somebody just the other day. It's like the regular doctor checkup. You going, oh, I'm getting my physical. What they do? I check my cholesterol. They did this. They did that. I'm like, that's it. And we're so far behind as a country with a regular physical, the regular physical that they're used to.
So, like, what, in your opinion, as a doctor, like, what should it entail? Like, when I go to the doctor next,
I'd have to print off.
Is this an exhaustive list?
It's a comprehensive. Yeah, it's a comprehensive panel. But anybody, when you get 40 or you hit 50, right? Like I ask patients all the time. I'm like, well, here's our basic panel, which is really our comprehensive panel. On top of that, we should look at for a male cancer or female cancer panel, cardiovascular panel, right? And then what's going on with the hormones, right? I mean, like I said, I catch cancer more often than I'd like to. But the good news is, let's say at 28 on the cancer antigen test I'm talking about for breast cancer, is it 28 or there's so many numbers. Let's just say it's 28. Okay. At the 28, don't quote me on that. You've got cancer, I think it's, but at 25 you don't officially, but you're at 25.
Right.
What are we going to do? Right. So, well, we know what to do. And I don't treat cancer, but I have patients that have it, or had it, I should say. But I don't treat any of that stuff. Right. I help the body do what it's supposed to do naturally so it can heal itself. So I don't treat any diseases. I want to be very clear on that. So, but when you get rid of the toxicities, we see a lot of toxicities causing those issues. So, and that's in our food, right? It's in our water. It's everywhere.
Now,
you know, from
what are some examples of these toxicities? Like I've heard of water. I've heard of all kinds of stuff in tap water. Like
oh,
I've in the training that I provide for the male clients that I work with about optimizing their testosterone. That's one of the things that we cover is that there are environmental factors that contribute. One of which is tap water, which they have found traces of hormonal birth control in.
yep, yep.
And
I was going to say birth control.
ingesting that, even in trace amounts, is bound to disrupt the endocrine system in both men and women. What are some of the other toxins that you're referring to? Like, what are some examples of those?
So you hit it. I was going to say, is he going to go into the birth control that's in the water because they're water? He went there, yes. And it's interesting
filtered water. It's delicious.
People go, well, I get my water out of my refrigerator. Is that okay? And I'm like, I mean, it just pulls the chlorine smell out, but it doesn't really. It's not filtered at all, and so you're still getting everything. I mean, they're amazed. Or people that drink tap water, we do body compositions on them, and they come in and they're dehydrated. But I drink all this water, but it's tap water, but they're dehydrated.
Wow.
Amazing. But yeah, the birth control is very estrogenic, right? And there's other ones out there. Red number 40, very estrogenic.
What do you find that in?
Everything. It's everywhere. Any red candy that you consume has red number 40 in it. Start looking at it. It is everywhere.
So this is like a dye that they put in.
Yep, red number 40 dye. And it is, when you start looking and you're going, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. It is everywhere. Another one is glyphosate, right? Or Roundup. That's in all kinds of our food, even organic foods.
Roundup, like the weed killer?
Yeah. Glyphosate. So that destroys the intestinal wall. It's absolutely horrible. And
we find that in food, like organic food or like fruits.
Well, they say it's well, first of all, if you test anybody for it, which we can do, it's in their body. Number one, it's already in your body. So if we were to test you for it, you've got it. But they say that the water is so contaminated, all the rainwater, that even organic foods are getting it, right?
From the watershed.
But, again, as America goes, we use more than any other country in the world, right? So when you listen to somebody that goes to Italy, says, man, I ate the pizza, I ate the bread, I'm okay. But when I'm in America, I can't eat it. Why is that? It's non-GMO wheat, right? And it doesn't have glyphosate on it, right? So we see such an issue with that, like, the food that we eat, the French fries that it's cooked in, the hamburger buns, everything, the lettuce, it's everywhere. And so that's a toxicity. So and the body stores those in fat cells because it doesn't want it to go to our organs or our brains or our other organs, right? So when people are having a hard time losing weight, that's part of it. That's part of it for sure. Right. So when we start to detox people, right, people say, oh, I'm going to do a detox, right? And they think they're going to drink this or drink that and run to the bathroom. That's not a detox. We're talking about cellular detoxification. If we're not getting the cell wall and the cell healthy, we're not detoxing anything. So when people buy these things online and they're in the bathroom all weekend, that's a colon cleanse.
That's a cleanse. That's not.
Yeah, and I don't even know if that's cleansing anything really. I mean,
it's a flush out. We'll call it that.
Yeah, I mean, you might. And again, yes, people do have stuff impacted and things like that. So yes, there's some value there, but realistically, when we're seeing toxicities, heavy metals, right? Mercury, arsenic, lead. I see lead a lot.
Where are people getting arsenic from? Like,
oh my gosh,
people are seriously ingesting arsenic right now.
Well, I was going to go out and do a thing about how, and this is nothing about vegans or anything like that. I'm not making fun of anybody, but there are actually higher levels of arsenic in vegans than anybody else because of the foods that they eat. So arsenic is in the rice, certain types of rice. It's in there. I just saw an article that came across, I think, Google or something on my phone, something on my news, that the cinnamon is contaminated with lead, right? Lead is an endocrine disruptor. So if I'm dealing with the woman with menopause or thyroid issues or any other endocrine issues, and she has lead, guess what? All the best supplements, vitamins in the world, drugs, whatever, isn't going to do anything until you get rid of that endocrine disruptor. So lead is a big issue. We see that a lot. Lead is in the water. It's nationally, it's in the water. Has been for years. You can Google it. When Flint, Michigan had their thing, but you started looking in Pennsylvania and Florida and all over the place. Lead is everywhere. Actually, I had a call to my office and they left a message, and I saved it, and I think I recorded it somewhere. They said, "Hey, we want to change the pipes to your house." They had the wrong number. And I've been in practice for over 25 years, and I'm like, "What?" So I called the lady back at the water department of the city of my office, and I was like, "Oh yeah, there's lead in we got to get these pipes changed." I was like, it was in the back of the water bill that my area that I live in, or that my practice is in, I don't live there, that St. Clair Shores, Michigan has over the legal limit, if you will, of lead in the water. If you have any questions, call one on the back of the water bill. It was like,
if you have any questions, how many people really go through and read their water bill?
Who looks at the back of the water bill?
Does that? Nobody even looks at the water bill anymore. They just pay it online. Most people,
right?
I think my mother-in-law is the only person who will actually go through and read every single bill.
I know people like that,
but they won't. But they won't look for specific stuff like that. I mean, so that's scary. I know that a lot of the gentlemen that I've worked with and coached, when we're working on hormone optimization and things that they can do to increase testosterone levels, we talk about that. We talk about things that are going to bind to estrogen receptors, things that are going to be more estrogenic, and just cause problems with the endocrine system and make it harder to produce that natural testosterone and have it be free in the body to be used. We talk about things like tap water. We talk about, certain foods or certain plastics or products you should avoid. But this goes even deeper than that. And it doesn't matter whether it's a man or a woman. If it's messing with your endocrine system, it's messing with your hormones. And it's going to make it that much harder to not only lose weight, but be healthy. Am I right?
Absolutely. There's I have a lot of case studies from going years back, and one of the common denominators is toxicities. So we see these people with all kinds of different things, and really sick, really sick, severely sick and sensitive, and we find that they have these toxicities, and if we don't handle that, they're not getting better. But once we handle it, we watch their numbers just fall, without any other intervention of even like chemotherapy or anything like that.
Well, I'm starting to see why your program is so successful, is because personally, after hearing this, I'm not going to eat anything.
Just breathe air. That's all you got to do.
And I imagine after having this conversation, they're like, all right, that's it. We're done eating. We'll just stop eating and then lose weight. No, but what are some of the methodologies for getting these toxins out of the body? Once you figure out what the problems are, obviously stop eating things that have the red dye in them. Get filtered water or bottled spring water, water that isn't going to have the contaminants in it that you're worried about. Well, what else? What else specifically do people need to know that they need to be focusing on in terms of their diet, in terms of their just eating habits in general?
Well, I mean, again, anytime you can go organic, right, you're good. You're way better. Mm-hmm. Looking for the genetically modified, now they're calling it bioengineered foods, and it's everywhere. You'd be surprised.
So you're saying we want to avoid those?
Yes, you want to avoid those for sure. And you pick up Ritz crackers, Honey Nut Cheerios, bioengineered food, right? Even there's protein powders on the market, for shakes, bioengineered. Wait a minute, what is this? This isn't the way God intended us to eat this stuff, right? And so it's like they create. When I say the food companies, they create. What was the ad? The potato chip. Bet you can't eat just one.
Right.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because it's engineered that you can eat just one, right? They have this thing called mouth feel, right? There's a book out there called um, Sugar, Salt, and Fat, or Fat, Salt, and Sugar. It's on my office, and it's you read it, people are making like Oreos in labs, so you become overly addicted to them. So obviously people have heard this, the outside of the grocery store, right? It's fruits, right? It's veggies, it's meats, it's food. It's real food. Anything in the middle, Cheez-Its and all these other things, that's not food. Organic, right? You got your veggies, you got your what else did you ask me? What else can they do, right? Purified water. I like distilled. There's a lot of research behind that. People think, oh my gosh, it's going to leach my minerals out. I need minerals in my water. pH water was like this big thing. I don't know, for me back in 2013, 14, 15. I don't necessarily believe it's all cracked up to be what it is. I don't think it's worth it. I even had a machine in my, I had a really expensive machine, and we liked it, but it wasn't. I don't see the value in it, and the research isn't really there
to justify how much it is. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Like, I mean, again, you can get distilled water, and you can get a home distiller for not a lot of money. So you got your waters, you got your foods, and then as far as detoxing, to answer that question, that is a pretty big subject. It's not something that you can just people get online and they'll say, hey, like I hear, oh, I'm going to take cilantro because it's good for this or it's that. It's really not going to do anything, right? So until I know what's going on with somebody, because of my background, I'm very careful on what I can say or what I will say, if that makes sense, right? Oh, the doctor said this, right? I'm not going to go out and say, hey, go, try this. This is a great way to help detox that, because if your kidney, your liver, your lymphatics aren't ready, talk about getting really sick.
So it's different so a detox program is not something that you would just like broadly prescribe. It would be something on an individual basis. Like Susan's detox would be very different from Tina's detox. Am I right? Like,
it could be. Yeah, it depends on what Susan or Tina has, but essentially it might be very similar. But like, there's 30 days usually of stuff that we'll do just to prep the body before we'll even think about detoxing it, because when you're detoxing it, like I said, it's stored in the fat, and if it comes out of the fat and then it goes to another organ, you're in trouble, right? So the reason we don't want it going across the blood-brain barrier, there's a lot of things that we don't want. Some people have asked me, I won't open that can of worms, but so, because I don't know who's going to see that, but anyway, there's safe ways, and there's ways that are that were popular 20, 25 years ago. When I started practice, over 25 years now. Wow. But I don't feel that old. But anyway, yeah, it's not something that you can get online usually. I mean, you're not find something there. I'm very cautious about anything that you'd buy on Amazon and putting it in your mouth. As far as purity goes, I've seen a lot of different things happen, and there's no checks there. So anybody can make something and sell it on Amazon, and you'll know.
Going back to the healthy or whole or organic or non-processed genetically engineered food, I've heard people talk about like stay away from non-processed foods and eat more whole foods because they're healthier for you. But then there's also the part about what grocery store are you shopping at, and so a whole food is just simply a food that's one ingredient, right? So it's like your fruit, your vegetables, that's, a potato is a potato, an orange is an orange, an apple's an apple, chicken is chicken. I'm sure that there are certain meats that we can talk about that are modified, that there's things injected into them, preservatives.
Right.
But one thing that I did kind of thought experiment one day, and I had some fresh strawberries that I had gotten just at a local Walmart, and then some frozen organic strawberries. And I asked, okay, which one of these is the more processed food? And clearly they said the one that's in the bag, because it's already been cut, it's been put in a bag, it's been frozen, it's more processed. There's obviously a full process that it goes through to get to the grocer in that bag, right? Whereas the strawberries are fresh. But then taking a step back and thinking about, the strawberries have been sitting in the store for a couple days. Before they were in the store, they were on a truck from wherever strawberries are grown, because I promise you there's no local farm by this grocery store that has strawberries. And if there is, please tell me, because I want fresh strawberries. But that means those strawberries were picked early, before that they absorbed all of the full nutrients that they would have had they been completely ripe and went straight from like farm to
Right.
table. So one can argue that the strawberries that were packaged and processed, I mean, those things were huge. They were like big strawberries. So it was very clear that they were picked when they were ripe, then processed, frozen, then sent to the grocery store. So there's some debate about, like, well, if we're talking about what's going to be better for you, are we going to look for foods that are more nutrient dense and have all of the value we could get, versus something that we think is healthy because it's just fresh? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you can go to the EWG, and strawberries are the top. They're called a dirty dozen. So they are if they're non-organic, they are full of pesticides. So they are one of the dirtiest fruits that you can consume.
So when we're going to the store and we're buying strawberries that are in that container, that are just like in the produce area,
right? Non-organic,
non-organic, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are the ones, right? So Environmental Working Group, you can just go to, I think it's ewg.org. Check that out. They have a list of foods and a lot of different things, but but the organic strawberries, yes, like you said, they were processed and they were frozen. But if they don't have the pesticides, which ones would I want? Those. How about raisins? Yeah, I'll take organic all day long, because now we're concentrating all these grapes, right, into a small amount, and we're getting a lot more pesticides. Does that make sense? Right. So organic versus non-organic. And then when it comes to meats, if we're talking beef, grass-fed is number one. Absolutely number one.
Right.
So for sure, pasture-raised eggs, a free-range organic chicken, a wild-caught fish versus farm-raised fish, right? So I do a couple different things, and I do some specific things. And I had a lady that was just like, she was stuck and wasn't losing weight, and she was eating a lot of tilapia. And I'm not telling everybody but I said, let's get rid of the tilapia. And as soon as she did, boom, the weight started coming off again, because I have a specific program that I do that gets people moving in the right direction very quickly. And it's so, as far as that processed versus unprocessed, but I mean, you could go, again, I go really deep. I love to learn these things and study these things, and people say, oh gosh, remember when kale used to be a garnish, right, at the buffet, and then it became real popular. But now the word is out on kale, even organic kale. It's not the health food that everybody.
What's the word on kale? I haven't heard.
Oh man,
I know it tastes like bug spray sometimes, but
the church of kale is gonna have an issue here. There's all kinds of big guys on everywhere talking about it. So it is it's full of oxalates. It mimics a lot of different things. I can't say the word, but it starts with a C. There's just a lot of different aspects. I always say kale is not good for you, so don't do kale like that. My patients, there's no kale. So there's no kale in anything. Now, oh gosh, I got this kale salad from, wherever. It's not, I had one. It's not the end of the world.
You're not going to die, yeah.
Right.
I mean, I've heard that too much broccoli can cause problems.
Yeah, it can definitely be a hormone modulator. So, and again, that's where, people think, oh, I'm just going to eat, grilled chicken and broccoli. Well, how's that affecting your body? You know what I mean? So it's just so much more to it than just, again, calorie deficit. Yeah, has to happen, right? You gotta take in less than you're going to eat. But on the other hand, where are those calories coming from? Right? Like you said, processed foods, organic foods, what's happening with your blood sugar, what's happening, with your body's ability to burn fat, detoxification, what's happening. A thyroid hormone has to be working right. Like all this stuff has to happen. But if you're taking in foods that are slowing that down, right? Like liver detoxification's huge. And if the liver's not doing its job, nobody's happy, right? So hormones aren't being processed, blood sugar's not being processed, thyroid has an issue. Like there's so many things that actually happen with liver. We don't have enough time on this call, on this podcast to do it.
So, so what about because I believe that
I answered that question.
Yeah, you did. I refuse to accept when someone tells me I can't afford to eat healthy. Like I can't go buy all this like organic, non-processed food. Like, have you seen how expensive groceries are? And yes, inflation's real and groceries are more than they were. But I also know that if I spend $50 at a restaurant and if I spend $50 at a grocery store, the stuff that I get from the grocery store I'm going to be able to make go a lot further than the one meal that I got from a restaurant that maybe I have leftovers for the next day, maybe not. I'm still going to be able to stretch spending my money that I spent at the grocery store. So it is possible. That being said, with everything that you're doing, what do you recommend to people that they, someone says, well, Jim, I can't go shop at Whole Foods. I have a bunch of kids. We have to get stuff from Walmart, and the kids don't always eat the healthy foods, so I've got to get this other stuff. Like, what do you have any? Let me rephrase the question this way: can you, at a regular grocery store, even Walmart, shop in a way that's healthy and that's going to help you stay on track with your weight loss goals?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a simple answer. Walmart carries 93% lean grass-fed beef. I know for a fact you can get 3 pounds for $5 a pound.
Boom.
Right. So you don't. I mean, I know for a fact. Maybe because every once in a while,
I know they have the range-free eggs.
Yep.
For the free-range chicken.
Yeah, those are going to be a little bit more. But when it comes down to like I'll give you an example. I know ground beef, $5 a pound versus the stuff that isn't grass-fed, the price that's negligible. It's barely 50 cents a pound. So, and when you're eating real food, right, you become full. When you're eating Cheez-Its, or when you said my kids are this, my kids are that, they're filling up on what do you call those little fishy crackers?
The goldfish.
Goldfish, right?
Yeah. Right. Those just run through you.
Yeah, it's like, sure, you're hungry because one, you're not efficient, you're not giving your body real food. But to go back, piggyback on what you said earlier about eating real food and non-organic versus organic, or fresh strawberries versus frozen. Here's the thing: there's a Senate document, I think it was 1951, that our soil was depleted in 1951. How depleted is our soil now? Right. So if anybody's old enough that's watching this, right, there used to be a commercial that it's not a good and healthy food, but it was total cereal, right? And you'd need so many bowls of Raisin Bran equal so many whatever of total. I don't know. I don't know if you remember
the. I remember that. I remember
because it was like it had all these vitamins in it. Well, synthetic, right? So, but regardless. That's like same thing with spinach. You can do a search of how many bowls of spinach you need to eat today versus a bowl in 1940. A trough, like you couldn't eat as much spinach today than you would have back then. So when people say, well, gosh, I eat this, or do I really need to supplement? Yeah, kind of. Because here's the thing. people, Guyton's medical physiology textbook states that the body will steal from non-essential to support essential. So I ask my patients all the time, is your skin essential? Oh, yeah. My muscles essential. Yeah. Your joints, your bones essential.
Bones, your teeth,
yeah. Those
eyes,
are essential. Yeah. Right. I go, okay, gotcha. So what's more essential, your heart or your joint? Knee joint. Ooh, my heart. What's more essential, your kidney or your skin? The kidney, right? So the body's going to take away from these non-essentials to support essentials, right? This is right out of every doctor studies Guyton's medical physiology textbook, right? That's a paraphrase, by the way, but that's a fact. So when people say, well, gosh, I gotta take a multiple vitamin, I gotta take a vitamin C or whatever, right? Or omega, right? Omega 3s. Again, won't go off that rabbit trail, but I think people are taking actually too much omega. And they're not doing the right ratios. Again, proper testing will show what you really need.
Right.
But because you can actually go too much, and then you open up the cell, and then it goes bad. But our food is deficient. I mean, if you're growing your own food, on a plot of land off the grid somewhere, completely organic. Okay, yeah, you're doing better than the rest of us going to the grocery store, but how much better? That soil's still going to be deficient. So you're going to have those deficiencies. So there's some basic things that need to be done on a regular basis if you do not want to have those deficiencies. So
that's fascinating. I mean, I get questions about supplements all the time, and my approach with supplements has always been like I'm not going to prescribe supplements to anybody until I know that they're willing to start cultivating healthy lifestyle habits, because there's no point in you taking any kind of supplement if you're still going to be eating like a jerk, if you're not going to exercise, if you're not going to drink water and stay hydrated. Then there's no magic pill that's going to just make you thin and make you strong. And so I want to see some baseline of healthy lifestyle habits, and then we can add the icing on the cake, right? Which is the supplements, which it's in the name. It's meant to supplement a good lifestyle, good diet, good exercise routine. That being said, it is true that it's almost impossible to fill in the nutritional gaps that we have just from the poor quality of food and the poor quality of our diet from all the processed garbage that we tend to eat. So, yeah, point well received. But also, I think it's negligent that people go to like a nutrition store and they have Biff the bodybuilder, and that they are able to, Susan, who's been trying to lose weight, goes into the store and asks Biff the bodybuilder, like, what can I take to lose weight? And I think it's almost criminal that he will be like, this fat burner, this multivitamin, this you need this protein, this creatine, and I mean, how is that? Is that scary for you, knowing that that's something that's happening, and it's just to make money? But there's people that are being sold these supplements, or that can just go buy them without a prescription, without somebody who's knowledgeable, who actually knows their lifestyle and their goal, that will sell them these things.
Yeah, I see. I see that, and I agree with it completely, because number one, a lot of the stuff over the counter, it falls short. And number two, you're giving people false hope. I did this, I did that, I tried that. Because I see patients like that. They come in, I used to take that. I said, well, if you're taking vitamin D, then why is your vitamin D low? Like, your vitamin D's got to be high. It's for women. We're talking about menopause, right? Vitamin D's got to be high, because it's anti-breast cancer. Like, you have to be, your vitamin D has got to be there. And almost everybody I check, is pretty low. But your body has to be able to convert it. So if you're not taking, the good stuff, I've seen people's cholesterol change because they're buying fish oil from a big box store that starts with a C and ends with an O, right? And it's like, wow, your blood work got worse. So what are you doing? So I can measure that, right? So they can go down to the store, buy all the right supplements based upon their blood work and all the testing that I can do. And then they'll come back, and even colleagues of mine that do the same thing, they're like, well, what happened, with this Tina or Mary or Bob? And they're like, well, I took all the stuff. Where'd you get it? Oh, down at the wherever, or I got this at the, here, and I got that there. Oh, got it. So you didn't take what actually works, because that's what we use. We use the stuff that works. So let's start all over and do it the way that works. So borderline criminal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, because there's a lot of garbage out there, man. A lot of garbage.
Give us some good news, Dr. Jim. There's got to be something that you know of that that people can get excited about. Like, please tell me that dark chocolate really is good for you and anti-inflammatory and helps your liver heal, or that cheesecake really is the magic cure for hair loss. Give us something hopeful. There's got to be something that that people would be excited about instead of nervous and scared about.
Well, as you can see, I eat a lot of cheesecake, if that's the case. So, but wow, it's kind of like sum it up, wrap it up. There's no wonder pill or supplement out there, right? That's it. I think that's what is like the magic bullet. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're being facetious.
No, not a magic bullet, but like we've talked about, like a lot of foods that we should avoid. We've talked about like how strawberries, I thought those were healthy, but they're dirty and covered in pesticides, and kale. I used to think that was healthy. Can't get kale anymore. Casey said something about broccoli being toxic in high amounts. I'm just asking you if you're aware of anything that would kind of be in the opposite direction. Like, I've heard good things about dark chocolate. I've heard things like drinking a glass of wine every now and then can actually be good for your arteries. So share something like some good news, something along those lines, nutritionally, that you're aware of.
Man. Let's see. Well, again, don't shoot the messenger, but yes, I mean, dark chocolate can be, but again, stuff comes across my desk because I research a lot. Like you said, well, I didn't know that, or I didn't hear that. And my kids are always kind of like joking because I'm always studying or reading or doing something. And it's just, I love to learn. It's one of my highest values. And
I can see your kids like coming to visit you and then like not wanting to eat in front of you. Like, what are you eating?
No, I love it because they're older now, and it's funny because kids don't want to really listen to their parents because what do the parents know? And I got patients all over the country that seek me and find me just from a YouTube video of something or whatever, and I'm not even trying to get in front of people in California or whatever.
Your kids are like, whatever, Dad.
Yeah, but now they're older and both in college, and they're seeing stuff on social media, and I'm like, yep. And they're like, yeah, Dad, you were right. I said, yeah.
That's cool.
Hey, Dad, you were right. I said, yeah. It's kind of fun. It really is, because they're coming around, or I don't, my son's like, I don't want to eat that. It's got whatever. I'm like, good job, buddy. So my daughter, same way, she's getting dialed in. But, again, some dark chocolate, like across the board, there was a study that dark chocolate had some, I can't say it, but it had some toxins in it and some heavy metals. I'm sorry, right? But don't shoot the messenger. I'm sorry. I like dark chocolate. It's okay, but and we know, I can't say everything. I won't say everything in moderation because that's not true, right? But I teach my patients, look, if we're going to eat right and we're trying to get to a result, here's the good news. I'll put it this way. You don't have to eat perfect 365 days a year. You don't have to be perfect. And I'm not saying, hey, you got to have a cheat day or anything like that. But I'm saying when I'm working with the patient and we're wanting something to change, we want to see the change in blood work. We want to see their numbers come down, whatever kind of things are showing up. Some are really bad and some are not so good. And some of, we're just working on longevity. Like, how do I increase this, and this? And how do I make, 60 the new 30? And people are always like, what is that? And it's like, look, it's not that you can't have that, but right now we can't have that, right? We're trying to fix something, let's fix it, and then go ahead and let's do it later. Like, give yourself a little bit of time. So it's not like you can't have a chocolate chip cookie or mom's homemade brownies or whatever that special thing that is that your family's done over a Christmas or a holiday or whatever that is. That's exactly what you can do. So I think that's the good news is people, you don't have to be perfect, because people will come into my office and they're doing everything right. And I'll run their blood work. And one of these ladies I can think of, she had breast cancer. I mean, she was eating perfect. She was this, that, blah, blah, everything. If you looked at her on paper, you talked to her like, wow, she had breast cancer. So there's something else, right? So you can have some things here and there, but have something that's more natural, right? So it like I'd say, or I want to use a brand name, sorry, but I will. Or like an Oreo. Well, what's an organic Oreo from, I don't know, Trader Joe's or something? When you look at the ingredients, the organic one from Trader Joe's or whatever is a lot better. Okay. I'm not saying it is because I don't know that particular. I'm giving you an example.
Okay, that makes sense.
Sense. And then the red wine thing again. How much, when, how often, etc. Like I'm that's and what is it in the red wine that does it? It's the resveratrol. And so why not just get resveratrol, a good one, versus the wine itself, right? Because what about the sulfates? So it's a tricky situation, but I don't eat perfect. I don't expect everybody to be perfect, but if you do the right thing, I sell 300 out of the 365. You're way ahead of pretty much everybody else.
People.
Yeah, I mean, you're way ahead. There might be that freak out there that eats perfect every single day, but that's the he's an anomaly. She's an anomaly.
Or they're paid to eat that way.
Right, and so I mean, so yes, can you enjoy certain things? You can. It just depends on what are we trying to accomplish? How fast do we need to accomplish it? How sick are you? What stage are you in whatever that is. So, but if there was, I can't think of what that, I guess I would say dark chocolate does have its, how about this? I just heard of a study that people that drink coffee are actually stronger and have more strength and or have a better longevity.
There we go. That's what I was looking for. There.
And
yes.
Now here's the thing. What are you putting in the coffee? Are you putting in the coffee mate? That doesn't count, right? That's not real. It's not a real, like, black coffee is ideal. That's where you're getting your health benefits from, right? But you can still have the coffee.
Jim, it's the sugar-free creamer. It's better for you, right?
Yeah, well, your body's going to crave more sugar with that, and then those are not neurotoxin, excitotoxins are aspartame and the sugar-free stuff. Not a fan. But there's alternatives like monk fruit. There's alternatives like stevia that you can use. Monk fruit without erythritol. It's a tongue twister. It's tough to say, but straight monk fruit. So, I mean, there's ways you can sweeten stuff up. I mean, I've tried honey and maple syrup in coffee. Not bad. It's not bad at all. So it's a little different, but if you wanted something sweet.
So one thing that we spent a lot of time talking about nutrition, and I could listen to this all night because I too like love to read a lot of studies and just learn about nutrition. But we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about exercise and kind of your approach, your philosophy about physical exercise. And I know that every fitness and weight loss coach takes a different approach to what's optimal, how to customize it. What is your main focus in terms of physical exercise when you're working with people?
Well, again, from a, people say, hey, you got to be released from your doctor to be able to do exercises, right? So I start everybody on walking. Well, I mean, walking's got to be the best exercise that anybody can do. And one of the ladies that's a patient of mine can barely walk, and she's down over 85 pounds now, and now she's walking better, and she can walk. And when you can't walk, when somebody has an injury, I know how you broke your leg, right?
Mm.
You take for granted that you can walk. People take something
Oh,
so
very much
simple.
so. Very much
They
so.
take something so simple, right? Because I mean, I've done non-surgical disc repair, a lot of different things with lasers and some really cool stuff. And the people's like, man, I just want to walk again, right? I want to be able to walk. And if you're going to walk, all kinds of research behind walking and how far you walk and how many steps you walk and how it increases your longevity and how much, your disease process goes down just by walking. And then on top of it, the strength training, you throw that into the mix, and now you're going to build muscle. You're going to restore bone, right? So we do a specific thing in my office to actually can almost guarantee that someone's going to go from osteopenia to not, or they're going to increase their bone mass, and so there's a special program for that. But with they've taken studies, and when people are actually doing the I'll say more of the heavy lifting, not like trying to be a bodybuilder. If we're talking about women that are in their 40s and 50s, they don't want to lift that heavy weight, but having that strength training is going to improve their mood. It's going to improve their activities of daily living. It's going to improve everything, right? So it's going to improve their bone structure. So it's really important to find something that's going to work for that particular person that they're going to stick with. I always say, if you like extras, if you like what you're doing, do it, right? So a lot, pickleball's becoming real popular, and people are doing certain things, like get out there and just move, ride the bike, walk. If you like lifting weights is great. The classes, doing those things that are going to make the difference a little bit by little bit, and that they don't have to work out for 3 hours a day, right? 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, walking for 30 minutes to an hour.
Right. Enough to create a stimulus for an impetus for growth and change.
Right. Correct.
Good stuff. Yeah. I have read the studies both in just physiology, but also in like the evolutionary sciences about we were designed as human beings to walk long distances. We weren't necessarily designed to run long distances,
right?
But there's just something about human nature that we have to overcome the physical body and do things that we weren't meant to do. But we were meant to walk, and we can walk very, very, very long distances. We were built for that. But this modern world that we live in, and that for the last 100 years, with the evolution of technology, has made the world safer, but also very convenient. But it goes against kind of our innate evolved proclivities to walk everywhere. And so, I mean, we can park closer to the store. We drive everywhere. We fly places. We go do activities that involve sitting more so than getting up and walking around. So, I'm glad to hear you say that, because at the very least, if you do nothing else, you gotta get out and walk.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's more than just getting your steps to lose weight. It's tapping into that primal part of you that is keeping your body alive, because the more sedentary you are, the more you're signaling and this is not science so much as just my own ramblings here, but I believe that there's a part of your system that just starts saying, well, I guess we're dying, so let's start just shutting everything down. We must be dying because we're trying to conserve energy, so we start getting rid of all the muscles, start making all these hormone changes. We don't need all this extra testosterone because we're not going out and hunting for anything. There's no real danger in the environment. We already live with our mate and don't have to go find another one. So let's just start shutting everything down. Life is good. And the way that I see that just manifesting in human existence is sad, because I see what we're capable of even at very old ages. You see people who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s just in incredible shape, running marathons, walking everywhere, and just being so full of life. And then you see other people who are the same age but who have been sedentary for years, and they look 10 years older than they are, and they're just halfway gone.
Yeah. You said something that made me think of the study that two things. I tell my patients all the time, your liver, your kidney doesn't go, well, I'm 50, I'm 60, man, I'm about done. Whew, man. I won't go into it because it'll take me a half hour, but cholesterol, right? Like your liver is a manufacturing plant. It makes cholesterol. Mm-hmm. It makes 8% of your body's cholesterol. It endogenously means in the body, by the body. Mm-hmm. People say, well, don't eat this, don't eat that. It's bad for your cholesterol. Okay. Kind of, but what is that? Like, so, and if your liver is healthy enough, it really isn't, but your liver doesn't go, hey, like, does everybody over 50 or 60 have high cholesterol? No. So it's not age related. What is it? It's health related, right? And that health is related to what you just said, the lifestyle. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to eat that. I'll just take another type 2 diabetic medication, or I'll just take some more insulin and I want to eat that bowl of ice cream. But, when you said walking and walking everywhere, longevity is if somebody wants to live a great life past whatever age that is, right? It has to start earlier. You don't wake up at 75 and go, well, I want to really go for it, right? That's something that you've been planning on for a long time. And I remember actually this happened, and my brother brings it to my remembrance all the time. We were watching an old ski movie called Warren Miller, and this guy skied this amazing run, and he was, like you said, 80 some years old. And my brother was amazed with that. And I looked at my brother and I said, he's my older brother, and the younger brother speaks the wisdom, of course. And I said to him, I said, he didn't wake up this morning and decide to go do that. He's been training for that his whole life. And I told my brother that probably almost 30 years ago. And he goes, it has stuck with me. Mm-hmm. I always do it. And he's 7 years older than me, and he's active, he does things, and he wants to do those things. So it's our lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to take that, what made me think of the study was they took patients that, I learned this when I was in my internship. These people, their activities, daily living, they needed attendant care. They could barely dress themselves. Yeah. They took them through a almost like a boot camp type of exercise thing where they made them lift weights, and there was somebody with them helping them do this exercise. And over, I'm gonna say it was 12 weeks. Could have been longer. It might have been 6 months, but either way, by the time they were done, these people needed nobody else to help them anymore. So they walked a very strenuous. Yeah, I'm telling you. So when I'm working with somebody, like, look, well, if I was going to live this long, you got to do something now. If you don't do something now, it's going to catch up with you. Like when you talked about the food earlier, I can't, people say, well, can I afford? You can't afford not to, because you're going to either pay now or you're going to pay later. Yeah. Later, it's going to be way more in hospital bills. Mm-hmm. So that lifestyle, and then the mindset that goes along with it, well, I'm 50. It's all downhill from here. Right?
Yeah.
Think about what you just said. There's death in life in the power of your tongue. What you just said, it's all downhill from here. It's going to get bad now. Yeah. What in the world are you talking about? So
I refuse. I personally refuse to live that way. I mean, I'm only 43, and I feel like I've never had this much muscle mass on my body. I used to do a lot of competitive running and competitive, mixed martial arts. So I was a lot leaner, but I'm still, in really good shape. And when my wife and I go on vacation or go do anything, we always want to go do crazy adventurous stuff. We always go zip lining and jet skiing and skydiving, although we'll probably not do that much anymore. Or we go on some hike up a waterfall, or we want to have more of these adventures where we do these kind of things and have these amazing experiences. And I can't imagine a time where I wouldn't want to do that. And I know that I have to keep my body healthy and young to be able to do that. And I want that for anyone that I work with. And I feel sad for somebody that I talk to that's even much younger than me, and that, I ask them, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years if things don't change? And they can't even see that far into the future. They don't imagine themselves still being alive. And it breaks my heart a little bit. And I'm like, we got to change that. And we got to change that now. So.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, listen, Dr. Jim, I appreciate you so much jumping on here. This was absolutely fascinating. I am thrilled about this interview. I learned so much, and I hope that all of our viewers get to experience this and learn something as well. Real quick, where can people find you if somebody wants to have a conversation with the great Dr. Jim? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook. Obviously, I'm there. And then Instagram, but Facebook is probably the easiest place to find me.
Okay.
You can Google me.
Google Dr. Jim. We'll have links to Dr. Jim's Facebook and Instagram in the description, so you guys can go check him out.
Yep. And then I got an office phone number, and so people, I can give that to you guys if you want. Doesn't matter to me. So yeah.
Very cool. All right, we'll link it in the description. Well, this has been a phenomenal interview. Thank you so much, Dr. Jim.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you, Casey.
Good stuff, man. Well, you have a good night. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, you too. All right. Bye-bye.